Hola amigos, this is level 12 and today we are going to be talking about what makes a good anime villain. Now this video is probably going to go out on Friday, unlike Saturday, because Saturday I'm doing some stuff and later today I have stuff to do, but I'd rather just get this out the way. So, first just a few points. These are going to be the points I'm going to be talking about in this video. One, they need a drive, a reason, a need, something as to what their end goal is. 2, they need a slightly relatable personality. 3, they need intelligence. 4, they need some creepy traits. 5, they need a foil, and if you don't know what a foil is, it's like an opponent, someone with different views. This would be the protagonist. 6, they need a suitable design, and I will get into what that point means when we get to that slide. So here is my list of examples. Now I know it says list, but I was doing this really quickly in my computer class. So my 4 main examples will be As Death from Akame ga Kill. Now a little disclaimer with Akame ga Kill. I have seen half of that anime, so I know about half of what goes on with it, but I feel like I've done enough research on As Death to know what she's like, because I've put her in a couple videos, because she is one of my favorite anime villains. I love female villains. They're so amazing, and she's the only girl on here. So, Captain Ginyu from Dragon Ball Z, Rascal or Joker from the Glitter Force, and Kyubey from Madoka Magica. First, what is the drive that they need? Why are they evil / the villain? What are they trying to achieve? Is what they're trying to achieve logical? A lot of villains want world domination / to destroy the world, which is fine, but why do they need to destroy the world? If it's because their mom took away their favorite toy, that is not a good reason. You need a better reason, a reason to why they hate society. A villain's reason / drive shouldn't be because they're evil. This is from a personal perspective. I don't believe people are born evil. Something makes them have a hatred for the world. I believe everyone's born with a blank slate. Their drive should be related to their end goal, by the way. Examples would be As Death grew up around weak people, thus she makes herself cold and strong. Kyubey's planet needs resources, so he uses the magical girls. This is how he described it, similar to how we slaughter cattle to get those resources. Next, they need a slightly relatable personality. A villain that has no traits that relate to the viewer will make the villain unrealistic and make the viewer dislike the villain for the wrong reasons. It will also make the viewer bored. If your villain is nothing but an evil, terrible person, like all he does is terrible things, then the viewer's just going to hate him. He's going to be annoying to be on screen. No one wants to watch someone be completely unempathetic unless you can make it work, which there are some villains that have like 0% relatable traits that I could find, but they work. But sometimes a villain is just too unrelatable and too unrealistic. Example, As Death is a woman who wants to find love. Kyubey is friendly and kind, and he's just thinking of survival, a basic human instinct. Ginyu has great camaraderie with his teammates and acts like a friend to them. He's even visibly upset when he learns of over half of his team's death. Rascal is afraid of disappointing his master, while a child is afraid of disappointing a parent. But again, what about one of anime's greatest villains, you may ask? Frieza. Frieza, and a few other exceptions to the rule of relatable personality. The reason his character works so good is also because Dragon Ball is just an amazing franchise. Frieza is this really strong character that probably no one can reasonably relate to. He wants to be strong, he wants to be powerful, everyone wants that in some way, but other than that, he has nothing relatable to humans. He really only cares for himself. And another villain that I could think of that on the surface seems so unrelatable is the first villain we meet in Naruto, whose name I forget because I haven't seen Naruto in like forever, but it's like Haku's friend or whatever, and I really felt bad for him after Haku died, even though, like, just whatever. They also need intelligence. Intelligence is part of what makes a villain intimidating. It's the fear that they'll be able to outsmart the protagonist that keeps the viewer watching. You're always secretly afraid the villain will win, even though if the hero doesn't win, that's also kind of a slap to the face. Some villains have shown to be complete dunces, yet are somehow able to make elaborate schemes, and to have their intelligence show later on is also like a slap to the face. I really hate watching stupid villains just because I'm like, and watching. It's not only watching stupid villains, but also watching stupid heroes be unable to match that villain's intelligence. One Punch Man, this is why I did not like One Punch Man. Saitama is just so dumb, and some of the villains he fight are so dumb, and it's just irking to watch, because I don't like to be pandered to. And that's why I felt like One Punch Man was. I felt like I was being pandered to with the stupidity of Saitama and some of the stupidity of the villains. And Genos, I thought when Genos came in it would be good, but no. So please have some form of normal intelligence, and don't just make the villain a super secret evil smart guy later on, because that just makes me think the villain could have done so much more if he was shown to be smarter earlier on. Examples is Rascal is shown to be manipulating his teammates to do the grunt work and even using their energy. He is also almost able to manipulate Chloe into leaving, the arguably smartest member of the Glitter Force. Ginyu wounded himself before switching bodies with Goku in hopes that Goku would die in his original body. Now, some would argue, well, isn't Ginyu stupid? And I'm like, no, he's just a little weird. There's this difference. As I'm slowly learning in the IB program that I'm in, there's a difference between being stupid and acting stupid. You can be literally stupid and not know what's going on, or you can act like an idiot, like Ginyu does in all his poses and stuff. He isn't stupid, he just has a very flamboyant personality. They need some creepy traits. Along with making a villain relatable, they also need something that gives them an edge of being unappealing. This is what will make them the villain. If they're 100% relatable and compassionate, then you don't have a villain, you have a protagonist. Just something that makes them not too human and likable. I mean, villains are human, but whatever. If the viewer starts rooting for the villain every episode, there's an issue. This is also the mark that can be overused. Making a villain overly creepy will make the show hard to watch due to the viewer being uncomfortable or cringing at just how weird and slimy and disgusting your villain is. This is a scene when Asuna from Sword Art Online is captured and molested by the bad guy. Now, I haven't seen Sword Art Online, but this is the reason why I haven't seen it. I don't want to go through this arc. Watching those type of scenes make me uncomfortable, and I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable just to watch an anime. I've seen like a few episodes of it, but not getting to that point, but I don't want to get to that point. Just not my forte. Examples, Esdes has a weird yet quote-unquote reasonable obsession with strength and masochist men. Ginyu thinks everything needs to look good and has a dramatic entrance, as I said earlier. Rascal is a clown, and his Japanese name is Joker, and will often start randomly juggling during battle, which makes him seem very menacing. I loved whenever Rascal was on screen, because he played the gesture/clown role so well. It was just amazing. Kyubei's voice hardly changes tone as he talks to the Magic Girls, and by this I mean when he's asking to make a contract and saying they get one wish versus when he explains the truth about magical girls is very similar and a very eerily calm tone. When he's like, oh, just make a wish, Madoka, and then when he's telling Homura that this is just how they do things, the tone's very similar. Just compare those two scenes. It's very creepy and very like, oh my gosh. That is the point when you know Kyubei is the villain of the Madoka Magica series. They need a foil. Now, as I said, a foil is a character against the villain, a protagonist. Almost always they have an opposite objective of the villain. And note I said almost always. Examples, Ginyu wants Frieza to have eternal life and take over the universe, while Goku wants to save the universe. Rascal wants to revive his master and paint the world the bad ending, while the Glitter Force, and in specific times Chloe, wants to blaze a way to a happy ending. Now this is directly from the show, I'm quoting the show. This is literally what that show is. Kyubei is only looking out for his people when he uses the magical girls, while Homura/Madoka is trying to look out for everyone of the human race. However, this is only almost always, as seen in Death Note, both Light and L want justice, just their means of getting it is very, very different. This can also arguably be said with Esdeath and Tatsumi. They both want peace in the kingdom, yet Esdeath thinks crushing the resistance will bring peace, while Tatsumi thinks bringing down the king's advisor will bring peace. They need a suitable design. Now, I'm not saying if, like, your art, the physical quality of art is bad. I'm not judging that. I'm judging the design choices that you make for your villain. This is exactly what I said when I talked about what makes a good Hetalia OC. I'm not talking about, like, how well you can draw. I'm talking about how well the character looks in response to what their traits are and all this stuff. I don't care about your art. That's not my concern. My concern is if your character has been building up to be this beautiful woman and then it's just an ogre, you need some help there. Is your villain supposed to be a hardened war general or a large beast? Does your character live in fantasy or reality? Is the design practical? And by this I mean, doesn't conflict with the world's reality / easy to draw over and over again. There are reasons why mecha anime are so like, mecha stuff and large beast are so hard to draw over and over again. This is why mecha anime has really repeated battle scenes, because no one wants to redraw all that machinery. Because something I've learned from watching a lot of art shows and just a lot of anime in general, when you do machinery and heavy machinery and stuff like that, stuff has to be symmetrical or like it won't work. Like, have you ever looked inside a car? Most of the time, the engine is very symmetrical to the other side of the engine. Anything that runs on gears and stuff has to look symmetrical or it won't work as a machine. Piping, tubing, everything needs to line up. If your world has been 100% realistic, proper anatomy, everyone looks their age, etc., up until the villain shows up, then your villain needs to fit in that world. Like if Madoka Magica, the girls have pink hair and blue hair and different colored hair that isn't normal. So the giant ogre and the giant wolf popping from the sky is normal. But let's take the world of Parasite the maximum. Until the Parasite showed up, which the Parasite has kind of a leeway because it's supposed to change how the people look. Everyone in that show looks normal. Like, no one in that show has weird hair colors and no one looks younger or older than they actually are. When the Parasites show up, the people change forms and stuff, when you introduce a parasite from another planet, then you get leeway. But just, if you have a strictly normal human world and then you just suddenly have this giant monster pop out of nowhere, that kind of breaks the wall. And it will break the immersion. And don't Stephen King it. And by this, I've read a lot of Stephen King books. And I've watched a lot of movies based off his books, which I know that's not a good way to put it, but I love Stephen King. His endings, at least they always used to build up and just burst at the end. Like, the original It, I know the second part for the new one isn't out, don't watch the new one. It wasn't a giant clown, it was a giant spider living in the sewer that somehow manifested into a clown. And, and the Tommyknockers, at first, it was kind of normal and just thought it was just this metal that was making the people do weird things. By the end of the book, the dude was going to space. It was just odd. And Stephen King, he can do it very well, so he gets a pass on that. However, if your world is like One Punch Man, where it seems normal but there are superheroes, then a giant monster is fine. I mean, in the first episode of One Punch Man, I think Saitama fights a giant monster. Or other characters get sucked into a fantasy world like No Game, No Life. Now, if you want to do that and take the No Game, No Life, ReZero route, then by all means, that's fine. But don't have a very normal world and then just have this giant berserk monster going everywhere. And I'm not referencing the anime Berserk. I mean the actual part of speech of whatever berserk is. Examples of having a suitable design is Esdeath lives in a world of war that has magical weapons. Thus, she is a strong general. I will say Esdeath, even though she's supposed to be this strong general, she does look a little bit too much like that womanly figure. Like, she's a very figured woman. She looks good, let's put it that way. It's very... Esdeath doesn't look like the strong male general you may think of, and if you've seen, I hate Neo-Italia, but if you see Neo-Germany looks like Germany. Germany had a chest and short-ish longer hair. That's what I think of a female general. So her design is kind of a little unrealistic, but she also has ice powers, so that's a pass. Ginyu lives in a universe where strange characters thrive. His design makes sense because he is an alien. I mean, when you're working with aliens, there is literally no way you can go wrong. I would also like to point out that Jace and Salza has been noted to be from the same universe, which I get. If you're going to have world building like that, and you have that kind of little niche fact, those two look similar. I mean, aside from their hair color and skin color, they look like they could be from the same place or the same general area. Like, those could be the two races. Like, there's an orange race and a blue race. It makes sense that works the way it does. I like that little fact. Rascal, again, his Japanese name was Joker, is supposed to be a creepy clown. The skinny design, sharp nails, teeth, and tongue really sell it. Also, while other villains and protagonists don't look human, it ups his creep factor that he does look human. It makes one think that since he looks like a human, he is a human, and thus he could do these terrible things to other humans. Kyubey is an alien from another planet. Also in the world of Majika doesn't look exactly like our world. It's more futuristic. So Kyubey, right from the get-go, he looks like he belongs. And so he just somehow fits. And so that was how to make an anime villain. Now, you don't have to follow these steps, but this was just something I thought I would get out, because I was thinking about it, I'm like, well, there's a lot of wrong and a lot of right ways you can make an anime villain. So yeah, like and subscribe for more anime and otaku related content. Ciao, chicos!